last couple of weeks for me has been just an unlock to go, oh, Tim, you have goals and milestones. So they're like the regular metrics. That's in your mind. You need, over the next coming months, to get unbelievable clarity on the vision. Those, as you said, like anti-metrics. It's so interesting that it's so easy for, at least for me, and I'm sure other people, to do it in business. So it's very difficult to do it in the personal life.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Well, we got him back. So here's the problem, right? So I released an episode with Josh Schultz the other day, and my producer said, that guy doesn't run businesses, he's a model. But you might be giving him a run for your money. So I think we got the two models here. So I call Josh Schultz the hair. That's what I call him. He just thinks it's great. But we have to come up with something with you. Because last time we had you in the cardigan, I mean, you were rocking it. I don't know if it's the camera. Your wife's a lucky person. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to work good. You got to look good, something like that. But yeah, Josh and I almost connected in Austin, and that would have been absolutely incredible to have the two of us in one space. Like, imagine that.
Well, here's the deal. I'm going down there in a couple of weeks to go sit on his patio and talk about life. You're flying in for the night.
There you go.
So,
you know me, Austin. Yeah. If any call to Austin, I'm there.
So you and I have been talking recently, and one of the things I want to talk about is that I think what we thought we wanted, I don't think that most of my friends want the same things anymore. And I think that life can change, right? And I think there's a tightrope that you're walking between ambition and drive and then peace.
Yep.
Because can drive and ambition be peaceful? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the rub, though. You can have $100 million business and it's still a grind. And I don't think that goes away. And I see a lot of people asking, when is this like internal fear and stress going to go away? And I'm like, I don't think it does, guys.
Yeah, probably not. Or at least that underlying, I know we've had a lot of conversations around this with it. You're exactly right. Like, there's a reality that if that feeling is happening, I think there's lots of questions that have to be asked. And I think I was reading Bob Beal has this book called Decade by Decades. I talked with Bob like last year. He has another book called Profound Questions that I send to everybody. And I was I just had this like draw to go stand in front of my bookshelf, and I looked up, and there is Bob's little tiny book called Decade by Decade. And he literally goes from like fourth grade all the way till like 80s and 90s. And he talks about each decade, the feelings that you get during those decades. The 20s, it's how much can I accumulate? What's all those pieces there? 30s ends up being a little bit more of accomplishment, and you're talking about accomplishment, and then he kind of goes decade by decade. And when I was in Austin a couple of weeks ago, I was spending time with somebody who's wildly successful, somebody that we would look at and say, wow, they've built hundreds of millions of dollars worth of businesses and sold those businesses, was going to retire at 50 years old, and he was empty and didn't feel any kind of sense of accomplishment. And he told us at lunch that in his 20s, 30s, and even 40s, he spent time with the same group of guys that he's spending time with in his 50s. And he said, in all those decades of time, they would get together and they would say, how's your business doing? What are the sales? What's the revenue? What's the profitability? all the metrics, everything, like your accomplishments and like, oh, I this award and that thing, and we did this and we did that. He said something just changed in the last couple of years as he's getting into his kind of mid late 50s. He said he gets together with those group of guys and they don't talk about that at all. Like nothing about accomplishment comes up. And everything is about how are your kids, how's your wife, how's your heart, how's your soul, how's your mind, how's your physical body, how you feeling, those kinds of things. And so I just asked him, you know, like, what would you change if you could go back to your 32, 33, 34-year-old self? And, you know, I don't remember the exact words that he used, but I just remember driving back into the city with the friend of mine that was there. And I just felt like there's just this, we were just talking about this, there's just like this paradox of like, you're physically fit, you're smartest, at least it feels that way. Like you have all the raw materials at this age in the 30s and 40s. But that's actually the time that you probably should be spending the most time with the people and the things that you love. So super interesting conversation with this guy. I was really blessed to have that conversation. And I felt like he was looking at that tension of the ambition and the peace that everybody's trying to find. And because I don't think ambition's wrong or bad, because I think the opposite of ambition, a lot of people think it's humility, and it's not humility. There's a guy, John Tyson, says that it's not that, is laziness. The opposite of ambition is just apathy, laziness. So we don't want that. You know, I think it's just finding ambition that whatever word you want to put around it. Some people might say holy, or you know, like a clean ambition versus like this aggression type of piece. It's a tough tightrope to walk, and I certainly have not figured it out, but willing to share my struggles through it as you try to move forward.
And I think ultimately it's tying your ambition to something that's greater in the moments that you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, meaning that business by nature goes up and down, sideways. Health goes up and down, sideways. Relationships go up and down, sideways.
Yeah.
Marriages go up and down, sideways. Relationship with your kids go up and down, sideways. And so basically what it's doing is, for lack of a better explaining, is taking a North Star or a higher pinpoint and tethering your mind, your body, your soul, your heart to that. So no matter the side by side, up and down, right? Like, so for me, it's jobs.
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't, like the quarter, the week, it doesn't matter. It's like, how do we become a company that's worthy to hire better people, treat people better? So the revenue is just a byproduct of that top goal. And I think, you know, especially as many people as I've coached, I don't think they have like actual pillar metrics. Like there's a guy that I love on Twitter who's designing a software for Service Titan for trade businesses. And I said, look, this is great, but these are the normal metrics. I was like, how do you create the anti-metrics for values and purpose? And he was like, dude, that's pretty cool. He's like, I never thought about that. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want my team to see. How many homes we served, how many families we cooled, you know, how many people we helped clog the toilet. Like, that's, if we do that enough, then the rest is going to take care of us.
Yeah, that's special. You know, I think my challenge, you know, personally, is I completely understand that, you know, have the ability to think that way in my business. There's such a clear vision. There's such clarity around culture. And then to do that inner work on yourself, that was like the last couple of weeks for me has been just an unlock to go, oh, Tim, you have goals and milestones, but they're like the regular metrics. That's in your mind. You need, over the next coming months, to get unbelievable clarity on the vision. Those, as you said, like anti-metrics, the things that actually matter, whether things are up or down or not. You're always pursuing those elements or those pieces, and I can't necessarily define all of those, but it's so interesting that it's so easy for, at least for me, and I'm sure other people, to do it in business. So it's very difficult to do it in the personal life as well. It feels unnatural, but it's so important because otherwise you become an untethered soul and you're just floating around.
Here's the problem though. This is the problem here. We've entered the world of antimetrics. That's not the actual thing you're pursuing. You've already done that. Okay, and let me explain how. You're a father that's seeking to be better. That's it. That's it. You and your wife are people who want to get better daily. You've already done it. You've already done it. Those are the luckiest kids in the entire world. You're actually reading. You're actually working out. You're actually seeking. That's it. There's no place, no goal, and that's where it gets tricky. Because the road does not have. There's no stop sign.
Yes. The you are so consumed with destination, that next, the milestone, the destination or whatever, and it's like, yeah, I think we talked about this last time. It's like that the analogy of climbing to the top of the mountain, and you like get super pumped, and you're like up there, and you plant the flag, and you're celebrating, and then you're like, now what? I don't want to be that individual in person. It's always trying to get to the mountaintop and the peak, and it has missed the entire journey along the way. The trees, the nature, the enjoyment. It's the same thing with family and life. I posted that today. It's like, somebody had asked, I think I kind of I might have stolen the thought, but somebody had posted something about, being more organized, and like, how do you make sure that you don't miss the most important things in your life? Like, what's your organization and your strategy for this? And somebody tweeted way down below, it was like, spend time with them. And I was just like, that's just so good.
I got to tell you a story.
Please.
So it's my original coach that got me sober. He comes on the podcast. This was one of my old podcasts I had called Brain Dump. And the guy my co-host is extremely, we call him the encyclopedia. Okay. He is more well-read than anybody I've ever met. He's a hugely successful multifamily investor, 80 million in 3 years, built multiple $1 million business. This guy's he's a disciplined lunatic. I'm just being, he would be comfortable me telling him that. He is used to coach Olympic climbers.
Wow.
He doesn't speak all the time, but I think that we were around each other for a reason for 60 episodes, because he wanted to, work on his human skills and communication skills, and he's very great at it now. He's very popular on Twitter. So we're talking to my coach, and my coach at the time somehow got into the niche. He lives in Costa Rica. He's Mexican, but he coached New York and Miami Jews. Like, that was his entire roster. It was really odd. But here's the problem, is that every year they're on a 2-week sabbatical where they don't work. And so he didn't have clients. And so we're interviewing him in day like 5 of him losing his mind because he can't work. Like, and feeling the lack, the depth. Oh my God, I'm a failure as a coach. And like realizing that his clients are just, on holiday. So, very successful year, right? And so he tells us this long story about how he was killing himself. And he said, you know what? He said, this morning, this was in the afternoon. This morning, I decided I was going to get up. I was going to go for a walk. I was going to walk my dog, and I was going to take my wife to breakfast. And he's like, I feel so great that I got to spend that 3 hours. He goes, I really need to make more time for that. And Anthony said, the co-host said, or was that time always available and you never take the time?
Mm-hmm.
And he proceeds to fall out of his chair. And, it was like one of those moments that we're creating, that I need to make this time to work out, or I need to find this time to like focus on this thing that's been driving me crazy, or I need to spend more time with my kids. I need to create that time. Or is the time already there? You just need to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
The same way one needs to accept love of itself.
Mm-hmm.
The love is always there. You're just choosing to not accept it.
Yes. Yeah. It's early in the morning to experience the conviction. Yeah. Yes.
That's what happens with these impromptu podcasts.
Yeah, it was like, go right into the weekend, just so convicted. I could not agree more.
Because hear me out, and I'm giving you a little time to process some stuff. What is conviction? Conviction is only a commitment to love. That's it, right? And so here's a perfect example. Coaching clients this week. I really need to gain confidence. That's what they say. No, you're mistaken. You need to gain faith in the belief that you're worthy and you love yourself. And when you do that, the confidence will come. We've got everything backwards.
Yeah.
Got everything backwards.
Yeah, we spend, I mean, definitely guilty of this, of like, you spend so much time. It's like, I've been thinking a lot about health recently too. Like we often don't spend the time to truly think about what the root issues are of things, like why am I, it's all about the symptoms, why am I feeling bad? And it's like the funny joke of like, well, have you slept well? Like, have you drunk enough water? Like, have you been outside recently? How much are you watching a bunch of TV? And you're like, no, it can't be one of those things. Like, it's like definitely none of that. But those things are always there. And it's like I think we almost want the answer to be more complicated, more difficult than
100%.
They really are. But the reality is the answers and the things out there, like you said, they're very simple. I don't know, there's certainly, maybe it's just certain individuals and people are built that way. And that goes back to the start of this. It's like, what's good in ambition is it's a driving force and it gets things done in the world. The flip side negative of that is you have to slow down, or you have to find a pace that's good. Like I ran a 5K last night and it went horrible. I mean, in my view, and the analysis afterwards was, Tim, why the heck did you go at 5 minutes and 45-second pace to the first mile? You've never run that before. Ever. Like I posted it afterwards and like all the runners
in the history of the world.
Yeah, like it hit, well, not history. I have run a sub 5, but that was like I was like 17. And so they, all these people, like people are texting me because I see it on Strava or whatever, and what is going on, and so I think there's such an analogy to life in that. And then what happens is you like blow up halfway through. And when I first became a Chick-fil-A owner operator, I remember sitting and they, in the selection and training and everything too, and they had some just super wise business people around the table, and every single one of them kept saying, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's not a marathon. It's a marathon. And so I hate that phrase, but only because it's true. And it's that paradox of like, if you want to go further, you actually have to go slower. And there's so many more elements like that. And like you said, what that looks like is accepting what's already there. The time is there. You don't have to make it. You don't have to create it. It's there as a gift to you. You just have to pick it up and take it. But that's not the hard part. The hard part is actually being humble enough, I think, to do that, to put aside the pride, the arrogance, I gotta be complex or smarter to figure this out, and just picking it up and taking it.
Have you, I might have sent to you, I don't know if you read it, but have you heard the concept of the 20-mile march by Jim Collins?
It's been I know Jim Collins, but no, go over it again.
I'll give you the brief over. I've shared it 16 times this week alone. Wow. So in 5 meetings yesterday, I've shared it every time. So long story short there was 2 groups. This was before the Southern Antarctica was found. So they trained to set out, which we all know is terrible weather. And so he basically planned for, they were going to do 20 miles daily. No matter if the weather was good or the weather was sunny, it didn't matter. 20 miles a day, food for that, blah, 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 blah. The other group, when the weather was great and not snowy, they would do 40 miles, 60 miles. When the weather was really bad, they would do 6 miles, 4 miles. The group that did 20 miles a day got to South Antarctica 6 weeks sooner than the other group.
Wow.
And the other group ran out of food and some people passed away. Like, and basically what they're talking about is kind of the same concept that changed my life, was leave a little bit for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We try to squeeze the end of the toothpaste out every day.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I'm teaching myself, which is extremely hard, is if you're not feeling it, then shut it down for the day. You don't need to do another task. You need to go walk or take a drive or go lift some weights or go have a nice meal. And I promise you, especially this day and age, the work ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like the combination of ambition and contentment. Some of those days you're not going to feel like going 20 miles, you're going to go 20 miles. And other days you feel like you could go 40, but you're still going to go 20. It's living a life of contentment. And I don't think contentment is apathy. It sounds like that to me.
It's not. It's called loving yourself and keeping, fuel in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, my coach right now is like, look, your soul is crying out for some rest. Right?
Yeah.
But there is 50 people relying on me to find some more fuel.
Right.
Now, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you're trying to play that game. And I think, most of the work done by business owners is done in the dark. It's me priming myself to be ready for the light.
Yeah.
That's what they don't see, because you can't have an off day as an owner. You can't come in with the energy off, because everybody leads by your thing. It can be a lonely road if you don't give yourself what you need.
That's right. Yep. Yes. And I've seen that's the fear underneath, and it's like I have a heart for folks that have been burned out, only because I've been there so many different times, and I think I'm finally starting to like know the signs before you are in the dark place. But yeah, I feel like if anybody listens to this and they're like even remotely feeling like burnout, you just can't ignore it. It's not strength to ignore it. That's what I thought for a long time. It was strength to ignore it, but it's weakness to ignore it.
Whatever it is that you love to do the most, whether it's golf, fish, hang out with your wife, I don't care what those things are. Ask yourself when the last time you did that thing. And then go do it. This is your permission. All right, we're going to let them off the early morning roast. If people want to find you, how would they do that?
Twitter at Tim Sweetman or timsweetman.com.
Guys, remember, the candle doesn't burn out. It only flickers. All right? So have a great night, great day, however you're listening to this, and we'll see you next time. Guys, let me take a minute to tell you about my buddies over at Lead Hub, Ben and Aaron, the best humans I know. Not only are they amazing at marketing for trade companies, but Ben started his HVAC company in his garage, sold it for multi-million dollars. So when this guy talks, I listen. When we took over Dietz Mechanical, we had 22 reviews in 22 years. In 7 short months, we went from 22 reviews to 107. We went from a 4.2 to a 4.7. We tripled our Facebook presence and we tripled our calls. If you're an HVAC, plumbing, electric, landscaping company, and you're looking for a no BS approach to marketing, you're looking for people who have done it before, you got to go to leadhub.net